Hello everyone, welcome to Widnes Rugby Chat. It's episode 15. Now I have to apologise for my ugly mug being so close to the camera. I'm filming this at 4 o'clock-ish on Wednesday because I'd been holding out hoping that there'd be an announcement before I recorded. I didn't want to record something and then it'd be out of date straight away, although knowing my luck that's probably what's going to happen anyway. It's been a quiet week. So I thought a good idea for an episode, I suppose, would just be to run through what's going on. And first of all, thank everyone for all their comments and tweets and stuff from over the last week. You know, it's really humbling for me to have people take time out of the day to send me a nice message, and you know, I'm really thankful for that. So over the years, I've had a lot of you know, you get a lot of criticism and a lot of negative comments doing sometimes what I do, and so to get some positive and nice comments is really humbling, and I'm really appreciative of that. I'm also appreciative of the new sponsors for Widnes Rugby Chat, which so if I don't know if you've seen, but on Sunday I went down to the stadium. I'll go through this in a better order shortly, but I was at the stadium and one of the ideas I had for fundraising was to get some sponsors for this show. I've got 3 confirmed. I'm just waiting for the money to land, and all proceeds raised from it will be donated to the GoFundMe page. I think I've already put some in, and obviously some I think I've contributed myself as well. I've signed up to Vicky myself. So in the coming weeks I shall be announcing the sponsors. I think we've had Musical All Sorts and PD Law have both confirmed so far, and another couple are in the pipeline hopefully. So from next week their logos will appear, and obviously got some interest. I've spoke to Phil at PD Law. We've got some interesting shows lined up involving some of the stuff that they're involved with Widnes players and fans, which will be interesting. But I guess I'll give you a little bit of an insight into the last week from my point of view. I mean, you're probably sick of hearing from me, obviously, with the amount of tweets I've been doing. But of course, we heard that the administrators were due, and the match being called off pretty much against Sheffield pretty much confirmed our worst fears. And I got the email, I think, on early Thursday evening, saying there was going to be a press conference at 12 on Friday, which was ultimately to announce the administration. Now, at no point did it say in the email on the press conference that's what it was, but it quickly became apparent that that's what it would be, the administrator and whoever else. That whoever else turned out to be Phil Finney, who's been unbelievable. He's been left in the firing line. He's ran the academy for so long and done a brilliant job there, and he's basically been, you know, left in charge of the club almost. So for him to front up, I had a word with Phil before the press conference. You know, I've known Phil a few years, and really good guy. Really got a lot of time for him. And yeah, it was a difficult situation, I think, for him to be placed into. I know he said to me, I can't remember what day it was, but he said to me, James Reel's at the end of his tether. I don't know what that makes me. You know, but I think he made a really interesting point at the Whistle meeting on Sunday night, where he said the fact that him and Dave and other people are, you know, Widnes through and through means that they'll go the extra mile, and they'll put that extra 10% in that maybe someone who doesn't care about as much about the club wouldn't. So yeah, so going back to the press conference, I've walked in. It was pretty busy. I mean, Sky were there, ITV, Grenada were there, BBC were there. I've actually never been in a press conference with an administrator before, so it was a first time experience for me. I think I asked the first 6 or 7 questions to the administrators, trying to get as much information as possible about how it's got to this point, and clearly their knowledge of the situation at that time was very limited. They'd only been called in the previous night, so they had a very basic grasp on what was happening. All that they knew was that the club had less than £1,000 in the bank. James Rule had called them in, which obviously I was a bit uneasy when he said that, and I was a bit put out when one of the administrators, Peter O'Hara, was referencing him as Jimmy, as if he was like his mate or something, and I thought that was a bit strange, a bit unprofessional maybe. Now, I don't know. People probably know better than me about the legalities of administrators. I don't know how impartial, how independent, how whatever they're meant to be, but I was a little bit uneasy about that. And this guy also seemed to have a massive crush on Ray French. I mean, Ray French is a great guy and a legend of rugby league, certainly, both as a player and as a broadcaster. But I just found it weird that this administrator was almost like calling out Ray and in the press conference, asking Ray, "Have you got any questions?" And I thought that was strange. That might just be me thinking too much, but I thought that was peculiar. Anyway, we got some questions, of course. I think two main questions haven't been answered, which, to be fair, it might be because it's difficult to find out. We don't know how much the debt was, and we don't know how much the club needed to raise by whatever time to survive. All we knew was that there was obviously the club didn't have any money to carry on, and obviously my understanding of that situation is that as much as the club may be in debt, I'm not aware of any of the creditors or debtors or whatever it might be. I'm not aware of any of those calling that debt in. So it's a very strange situation, or, well, not strange, a unique situation. I've seen a lot of comparisons with Bradford, and you'll see my tweets on this, I think, Tuesday. It's completely different, because Bradford, when they went to administration, HMRC were winding them up for £1 million. And it was like, HMRC were like, we want our money, and because they couldn't pay it, that was why they were wound up. And that happened a couple of times. That's not the case with Widnes. There's not, as far as I'm aware, there's not a creditor or a debtor who's saying, right, we want £500,000. That's just not what's happened. What's happened is the club simply run out of money to pay its ongoing costs. So the position of the administrator was, we need to be convinced that someone can take over the club and take over it as a going concern and run it for the rest of the... it's not just about this Sunday's game. It's about the entire season, last until December and then past that. The game could have played last week because there were people willing to put the money in to cover the insurance, but the administrators weren't comfortable enough to do that. All this information was discussed in a press conference. I'm not sure whether anyone's shown the full press conference. There was a couple of people streaming it, I think, but I think did the Widnes Weekly News have it, and it was really poor quality sound. Obviously, Sky and BBC and whatever were filming it, but I'm not sure how much of it they've put out. Obviously, I tweeted throughout, so hopefully you got a bit of a grasp of what was going on. And so, yeah, the situation ultimately was that the club needed to find money to carry on. And bear in mind that season tickets are being sold, sponsorships are being sold, majority of the central funding is being advanced. So income for the rest of this season is very limited. So, it's only February. Whoever takes over has got to last until the end of the season, basically on match sales. And that's the reality of the situation. So whatever, I've seen a few figures floating around, and I'm not sure how true these are, of Widnes wage budget being 130 grand a month. I don't know what that's based on, or where that's come from, or whether that includes the directors' salaries. But ultimately, the club has got to cover that cost over the season every month, and pretty much their main source of income during that time is just the matches. So that was the main challenge. So Saturday, it went a bit quiet after the press conference. Obviously, everyone was doom and gloom. I mean, I must admit, if you'd have asked me on Saturday morning, I would have probably said the club was going to go into liquidation. That was my position on it on Saturday. And then midway through Saturday afternoon, the club received approval, the green light from administrators to kickstart this fundraising campaign, which is led by Vicky Vikings Quids In. Now, I want to put on record here that I asked the question about Vikings Quids In, about transparency and where the money goes. I've spoken to Jason Shaw about it, and I said to him, it was no slight on him as an individual, because clearly he's a great guy and he has the best interest in clubs at heart. But I felt that question needed to be asked because of the lack of transparency around the club. Now, I got a bit of stick, I think, and a few other people got a bit of stick for asking the question, but ultimately, I asked the question and we got the answer that we wanted. They're going to be transparent, the funds are going to be held in an account, blah, 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 blah. Brilliant. So that kick-started the campaign. I had a couple of phone calls on Saturday night. Phil Finney rang me and he said, come down to the stadium and help out. So I went down to the stadium on Sunday and did a little bit, like I say, the Widnes Rugby Chat sponsorship was the main contribution, I suppose, from me. But I did a little bit of obviously pushing other stuff and helping out wherever I could. Matt Taylor had been messaging me on the Trusted Widnes forum, And then, unbeknown to me at this time, a guy walked in and went into a room, and people were saying, that guy's coming in and donated 10 grand, and it turned out, and then a bit later on, Matt walks over to me and goes, are you James? And I was like, yeah. And unbelievable for someone to come in and have such faith in the people around the club to give that money is unbelievable. But I mean, it's not just about, Matt, brilliant, and I hope to see Matt at games. In fact, one of my favourite moments over the weekend was when, I don't know who it was, but I think somebody stopped him in the car and on the roadside and did like a selfie with him through their car window, which was quite humorous. But I think everybody, all the fans, everyone watching this, deserves a tremendous amount of credit for the way that everyone's rallied around the club and what's being trying to be done, especially amongst criticism, because I think there's been criticism from other clubs. I don't think it's starting to get there a little bit now, but I don't think Widnes have had the support that other clubs maybe got when they were in this problem, because I think the Bradford situation has really burned bridges for people. So there's a lot of scepticism over where the money was going and why it was being fundraised. But the good news is that the Widnes people have sort of trusted what Vicky have said. Obviously I asked the question and I've authenticated and I'm behind it 100%. And the Widnes people got behind it. I mean, the amount of stuff that was coming into the stadium, the amount of people that were in there, it was unbelievable. I didn't know what to expect when I went down there, and it was unbelievable, the number of people. And then throughout the day, people coming in and out, players were coming in and out. Everyone was so upbeat. And bear in mind, I'm going to save this for later on in this show, but all them staff in that room hadn't been paid. They'd seen all the players get paid. They'd been told basically that the club could go bust. And all these people are there all day on a Sunday, and I'm not even, they're not just not working the normal hours. I mean, they're working 12-hour days. And then don't forget the added pressure, the mental pressure that they must be under, and the financial pressure, because the job that they've got, they're not getting paid for. And it's like, yeah, we love Widnes and, it's our, as fans, but it's these people's lives. These people got mortgages to pay. So for all them to be as upbeat, I was at the stadium and everyone was so positive and everyone was so, in a good mood. There was no feeling sorry for themselves. There was just a real attitude of let's get this done, let's get this done. And I think that's really, I think the staff involved really ought to take some credit for their attitude, and obviously it's led by Phil and Dave as well. Their attitude is rubbed off on the fans, and it's that, in many ways it shows how badly run the club was before, because all that's happened is a few people in the club have shown a bit of passion, a bit of transparency, a bit of openness, and they've got the whole town behind them now. And I pray to God that there's a game this Sunday, because it will be a fantastic occasion. I mean, knowing Widnes, they'll probably get beat. But yeah, let's pray that there's a game this Sunday. So that happened on Sunday. Then I went over to the fans meeting at Parklands for Whistle. So there's a few question marks over the situation with Whistle and Vicky and stuff like that. Now, my understanding is they're going to want to try and work together, and that'd be great. The main positive of Whistle is that it's already a trust. It's already a supporters trust governed by Supporters Direct. So they've got all the governance and all the paperwork in place to be able to run effectively as a transparent trust. In my opinion, it'd make sense for the two, for Vicky to almost utilise their governance and paperwork, if you like, to carry on in their current form. Either way, I think positive discussions are being had, and ultimately, what the trust is in place for moving forward might be to help protect the academy, or it might be to help, something that's not necessarily. Whereas Vicky is very much, it has been to sign players, which is great, because obviously everyone wants that. So I think bottom line is everybody knows that we've got to work together. We all have different ideas, and I have different ideas to some people and whatever, but I think obviously this has proved what a success Widnes could potentially be if everyone works together. So that was Sunday night, and Dave and Phil were there, and it was really humbling, because Dave and Phil both choked up when talking about the club and what they've been going through. And I mean, honestly, I mentioned that end of the tether comment again, that the administrator said, "Oh, James Reel's at the end of his tether. He's getting threats to his life, threats to his family, threats to his property." And I'm just like, and Phil's like, that is a guy at the end of his tether. That guy there has worked. He's worked his blood to water for 10 years on an academy, and he's just getting to the point now where it's coming to fruition. Because you can't set up an academy overnight. Phil finished worked on this. They've had the Club 20 that's been announced. been working on this, and he's got to almost the very end. It's about to become the most successful. I think Widnes are the second best academy now in terms of players produced, and the whole world's falling around him. But Phil's not moaned. He stayed there. He's managed to keep the players on side as well, which is a fantastic achievement, and that just goes to show how much they're all bought into it. Dave was brilliant. There was a few questions, and I thought there was a few silly questions from fans that did get shrugged off a little bit, rightly so. But I think that was a positive night. It was decent at Parklands, and then Monday night, if you managed to get in, I was there. I didn't get a seat, so I was stood at the front. But fantastic night Monday. I mean, I actually thought this on my way back. I can't actually remember the last time I went to an event at the stadium. Because of course, as Dave Holt said during it stopped. Unless you were part of a very small group of people, there was no fan events at the stadium anymore. Fans weren't invited, and honestly, I can't remember the last time I went to an event at the stadium before Monday night, and it was brilliant. And Dave said Dave actually said, and one of the most powerful quotes to me on Monday night was when he said that he thought Widnes had lost this. He'd been saying, and it was almost like the passion in Dave's voice. He was saying he'd been telling the custodians of the club, we need to do this, and we do. It's a small town club. It's not a massive company. It's not a Liverpool Football Club, or it's not a conglomerate or a big brand. It needs the buy-in from the whole town to be a success, and that's where it's failed massively over the past few years because of the sheer arrogance, I don't know, greed, I don't know, incompetence, I don't know, of the directors. So, great night. Kukash was there. I said this on Twitter as well. I'd only actually met him once before. I've never come across him actually in press conferences and stuff before. The only time I'd met him was I played against him in a charity 11-a-side football match in Liverpool once, and he was playing in goal, and I went up for a corner and I got aggressively manhandled off it, shall we say, and that's one of my humorous anecdotes from my many years in sport. But I thought he was very good. I thought at times the night was a little awkward at times. I was worried at one point that everyone had pretty much coughed up all the money that they had, and the auctions were going to fall flat on the face. But it went brilliantly. I spent some time with Terry O'Connor. Again, Terry's one of those people that we've sort of exchanged knowing glances many a time over the year, but never had a decent chance to talk. And really appreciate spending some time with Terry O'Connor, and he gave his insight. And of course, he's been driving revenue generation as well by getting into local businesses and other businesses. Terry O'Connor's a great asset potentially to Widnes, to the town of Widnes. Didn't get the best days of him as a player because Widnes weren't in the top flight, and I think he referenced on Monday that when Widnes did go up, he was on a long-term deal at Wigan. So they need to use Terry O'Connor more, in my opinion, because he's got a bit of profile at least. The players, of course, got stopped training by the administrator on Monday, and allegedly went and trained on Lee Rec, which was good. But yeah, a really good night on Monday, and I think the amount of money raised, and I was disappointed not to win the 2003 signed shirt because I'm looking for, that's one of the ones that I'm missing. I think I need to have a bit of a rethink. I need to get some more walls, I think, but I'm missing a couple of years. But I've got signed shirts running anyway. Great night, and it's just the great stories in there. There was the little lad who'd got his ball signed from West Bank Bears, Jensen, I think it was. You got Neve who'd sold their toys, and just wherever you looked, there was people. And it shouldn't have had to come to this, but I think it's a good thing that it, and hopefully if we get some good news tonight or whenever we get it, it makes us value it a little bit more. Maybe when the right people are in place, that they do deserve a little bit extra time to get things going. I mean, I've said it, Dave Holt and Phil, unbelievable. Whoever takes over the club needs to have them two running it without doubt, because look what they've done in this space of time. One of the things I was going to say, and actually I was thinking about this last night, is I think what we could potentially do is have an annual Love Our Club event, a bit like Monday night, and have it every year. Similar sort of format, maybe not as desperate on the auctions, but because so much stuff's being donated and there's all this stuff floating around, it's a shame that some of it isn't getting its true value because obviously the people who are buying it are buying multiple things. So if things do come good and the club survives, how about every February 24th or whatever the date was, we have a Love Our Club event at the stadium in aid of the club to fundraise, you know, whether that be, we could do exactly that the other night. And if you could raise 20 grand, have a great night, fantastic, you know, donations, get past players there, get current players there, have raffles, you know, and that's the sort of thing that the club hasn't been doing. And I think that'd be, I mean, imagine that, you know, every February, Love Our Club event, you know, tie it into Valentine's, but don't clash with Valentine's, you know, have it a bit later in the month. You know, you'd be a month into the season, so you'd have a bit of insight from the coach and the players. And a yearly reminder of how important the club is to Widnes, how important it is that the club exists and is successful, and how important it is that the fans are behind the club. And, you know, I'd love to see that annual event happen. So Love Our Club event every year, every back end of February, nice bit of income generation for the club. Great, you know, I've watched Widnes for 20 odd years, and you know, I've met people at these events that I've probably seen at games but never spoke to, and you know, we've got this something in common. You know, it's just a brilliant thing, and if we can keep that going, then fantastic. A few people are asking me what's happening with the old owners and the investigation to it. Now, I've been following up a couple of lines of stuff, and I put this on Twitter before. There's been something mentioned to me that the pensions may not have been paid over a period of time, which potentially could cause the directors some issues with the pensions regulator. And then there was an invoice finance contract that was signed back in August. And I've been speaking to a couple of experts in that field, and they seem to think that maybe this situation's happened because there was personal guarantees signed by a couple of directors, and maybe that company has gone after the directors, and that's why they've turned it into the club basically and said, look, the club doesn't exist, or the club's going bust, we haven't got the money. You know, that's pure speculation. I'll keep digging on that as best as I can. It's dependent on the administrator, of course. The administrator will be doing his own investigation. How detailed that will be, I don't know. I don't know the process, so it wouldn't be right for me to speculate on that. I don't know how much access they get. I don't know how much digging they do. We've just got to keep fingers crossed that they do. But then, I suppose the question is, does it matter? Do we become the bigger people and just let it slide? You know, I don't know. Does that let them get away with what they've done? Is it a waste of energy focusing on what's happened in the past? Will we be better putting our energy in supporting Phil, Dave, everyone at Widnes? You know, I'll let you debate that. I'm sure plenty of you will disagree with that route. But fingers crossed that, you know, it's not going to change the situation. You know, it's not going to undo the problems that have been caused over the past however long. So yeah. I've waffled on a little bit, hopefully not too bored of my voice by now, but I just wanted to give a final word of thanks for all the people at the club. I can't name them all because I'm scared of missing people, but you know, I'm close with Sam White, Sean Hayes, who, you know, in fact I want a special shout out to Sean because he worked so hard to get his role at Widnes. You know, he did so much work with Rochdale to get his opportunity at Widnes, and to be let down by those above him, to leave him in this situation is terrible for a young lad trying to make his career. You know, him and Sam, I think Ryan and Liam are doing a great job on the social media and the engagement, and hopefully that continues. Then you've got Clarkey, who's an absolute gem of a bloke. You know, Janet, everyone in there, Emmy's in there, Lydia's in there. There's loads of people, Curtis, you've got Grant Gore. I'm sorry for anyone I've missed out, but all these people have just been turning up for work, no questions asked almost, just getting on with their jobs. You know, and some of those people aren't actually Widnes people or Widnes fans, but they've been so bought into it. You know, they're, you know, in my mind, almost like honorary fans for life for what they've done. And I think if there is a game on Sunday, the whole town, everyone in that stadium, be it a fan, be it a player, be it a coach, be it a staff member, be it a volunteer, can look at each other with pride of how they've been with each other and in support of the club, and really hopefully enjoy a pleasant Sunday afternoon. It probably rained this week based on how nice it was last Sunday, But that's it from me for this week. I'm not sure whether there'll be another one between now and next week. Depends, I suppose, what happens after this. I'll no doubt something will happen when it loaded. If you've not seen my tweets, I should probably add at this point that I was told that clubs who had been sniffing around some of Widnes' players had been told to back off because the players were under contract, and the administrator was confident that a sale was going to go ahead. So that was my news snippet, if you like, from this afternoon. Thanks for watching, downloading, listening, however you've done it. Thanks again for all the tweets and all the support. Thanks to the new sponsors who have, come on board to sponsor the show, which has all gone in aid of the club. Thanks very much, and I will see you very soon.